Ramblins! Ramblins from the Warp.
Warp.
Ramblins from the Warp, as always. Late Night Dice. Myself, Kyle Christian. Y'all don't get an intro this time because y'all always fuck it up. So,
Hi, everybody.
Chris.
You shouldn't have waited. You shouldn't have put in such a long pause. Shouldn't have waited so long. I saw an opportunity and I took it.
Normally I'm like, say hi to everybody, and you guys turn into like 3-year-olds at a birthday party, like, hi.
No.
What up, man?
So, getting ready for Adepticon. We're still there. We're under 30 days now. Technically, we're under like 20 days by the time this gets released. I changed my list again, so like I have to repaint some stuff because I'm dumb, and I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. Also getting ready for Alamo after that. Alamo's going to be really cool.
I can't wait for Alamo. That I'm really looking forward to Alamo this year, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm still I'm still building my Kratos. Yeah.
Yeah. I
still high.
I'm working I'm working on a special kind of unit that I'm gonna show at Adepticon. It's gonna be hilarious. That's what I'm working on right now is this little auger command squad that I'm throwing together. It's gonna be hilarious. If you guys see me at Adepticon, ask about it. It's gonna floor some people.
You don't even have to ask about it, dude. Once you see it, you're gonna know.
Yeah, once you see it, you're gonna be like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Yeah. That's a unit.
Well, today we're gonna get into the weeds. So Christian has a topic, and I'll be honest, I don't know how we're gonna navigate it because it's a little weird. But
Yeah,
Christian, ask your question because you gave me like a concept of the question earlier this week, and I was like,
the concept of a plan.
yeah,
yeah. It's because I don't know how to word it properly, but hopefully we can get through it and we can ramble about it. So one thing I always notice about Heresy players and 40K players is we do have this big divide. And where the divide started, I would think, is the models. And we have Firstborn Marines, and we'll consider those at a start from like what, first to like 7th edition. Those were our Marines. Those are what we had. Heresy came out, we used the same models. Well,
hang on. Well, okay, we didn't. And I'll get into that. I'll get into that in my explanation. So continue your question, and then
okay,
I'll clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, clean it up a little bit. At what point are we going to get into a new era, if it ever happens, to where we have Firstborn Marines like Heresy? Then we have that middle ground where it was, can I say, the original 40K, the beginning of 40K, where it was still Firstborn Marines and Dreadnoughts? And then would we ever get to a new era where we'll have a new line, like a, I don't know, 50K Millennium, where it's just all Primaris? Is there ever going to be a three-way gap, a three-way, like event or era where all the Firstborn Marines are just not there anymore? Because we're getting stories now of like the Caradons. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. I probably did. Or like all these guys that were Firstborn Marines getting injured, and instead of turning to Dreadnoughts, they're turning to Primaris, and then they just come out with their whole legion of just new Primaris models. Are we ever going to get to a point where it's just all Primaris in the distant future of 40K?
So we're kind of already there. Let's go with how the timeline of model releases worked. So original Rogue Trader of Warhammer, then you went into 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th edition. When Horus Heresy dropped, technically, you weren't the models from 40K for Heresy. Heresy had its own model production, but it was a game produced and released by Forge World. So all of the era specific Marines, so all of your, at the time, Mark II, Mark III Marines all of that was released by Forge World, and it only came in resin kits, right? But the community for Heresy really, in first edition, that was a good line. Like, you 40K players, you can take 40K models and play them in Heresy. It would be that whole like, you're the wrong kind. It was it was actually a thing. Then somewhere in the middle, they released the plastic kit. So when the plastic kit started coming out, there was a lot more flexibility. People were like, hey, look, the price point to play Heresy is so wildly crazy. And then we got into second edition. And around the time we got into second edition, 40K was already well down the Primaris path. And even now, Warhammer is primarily Primaris. And they've even marketed it to where, are there still some firstborn units rolling around in 40K? Yes. But majority of those units are hot garbage next to the Primaris. So through marketing and through rules, they've already kind of made it a Primaris only. Now we gray area. There are models that I own and a few other guys own that don't technically fit into Heresy, and they don't fit into 40K either, in either rule set. And when that comes in, that's where we as a group of players and people just have to agree we're not going to be shit gibbons, and we're just going to play the game.
Yeah, but even not even like in a gaming aspect, like I guess also I'm thinking about story driven. It's because at what point is it just all going to be Primaris? I know that there's, and I haven't looked into it myself, but I know people are talking about that. GW has released like it's either a book or a little note where they're talking about expanding into the other realms of chaos and actually having gods for them that are like not attached to anything else, so like a new age of chaos basically. So it's like we're pushing further into this, as you would say, future of stuff. When is the story going to actually be divided again?
Okay. I know that Warhammer in general is never going to go like Warhammer 50K because 40K is their brand. Like, that's what's paying the bills. Where I think we're going to see a weird thing, honestly, is a blending of Heresy and 40K in weird ways. So like right now, they just announced the new Knight that's coming out, which is kind of a mid-size between an Armiger and a full Knight build. We don't know if we're going to get that in Heresy. Right now, it looks like it's mostly 40K, right?
Yep.
But in the Heresy universe, we're in the Scouring now. This is where you start seeing chapters brought about and things like that. I don't think that they're going to bring out. They're going to milk. Start seeing more liberty taken where guys aren't afraid to kit bash out of some of those older Marine kits you were talking about, those gray Marines where they don't fit in either one. They're going to be a lot more comfortable with kit bashing. And a lot of guys are going to be a little bit more lenient about it. And if they're not, fuck them. Like, I know that sounds, but certain we have to get into the mindset of enjoying the game. And I've come to really phrase. I understand that for some people it's very important, but if your excuse for being upset with me is breaks your immersion, I really can't buy that reasoning anymore. And the reason I say that is because we're seeing more and more customization. We're seeing more and more branching away from the original people, the original story. Everything is branching out. GW is retconning the story. They're introducing new things. You were talking about Carcharodons earlier, right? And how they're going to potentially Primaris up Tiberius or Tiberos, whatever his name is, right? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Canonically, Carcharodons run around in Heresy armor. Their lore is that they run around in Mark V armor and they just hodgepodge repair it all the time. That Legion purely runs off of Heresy era tech. So in my mind, if you show up to a Heresy event and you're like, here are my car characters, if they're in my farm armor, care, cool with it. It fits their lore. Everything's great. So I think we're that new age. Excuse me. I think that new age. I think we're already there, right? It's not going to be a rebrand. It's just an evolution of the story. When you look at right now, one of the biggest hotnesses that was happening when we were at TXO, they were like, "Oh my God, are they going to leak Porter Rabo in 40K? Are we getting Purdy back? Are we getting another Primarch?" They're slowly rolling the Primarchs back out. That is your new age of chaos. The new age of chaos started when they resurrected Primarchs.
So you're gonna have to explain that to me, because like they're all alive and well in the Heresy, and I know some of them die. So are they bringing them back to life?
No,
not all of them.
Not necessarily. So
Spoiler.
Kinda. Yeah. Spoiler.
Spoiler.
So here's what happened. There are a few Primarchs that are dead. A couple of them argue. We know they're dead. Okay. Without a shadow of a doubt, Ferrus Manus is dead. Fried chicken ass dead. I'm talking chicken with his head cut off dead. We know for a fact that Sanguinius is dead.
Cruz?
So Sanguinius is dead. But
Conrad Kurz?
There are there are canon books that talk about how Sanguinius' spirit is still floating around in the warp. And he'll come to you. Like, he actually, in one book, he came to Dante and was like, "Hey man, how you feeling?" He's like, "I'm old, man, let me die." And he's like, "Not today, bitch. Get back out there and be somebody." Right? We know Kurz is dead. But we also know that Kurz is not all the way dead. He was killed by an assassin. But there's like canon gray area where his soul was trapped inside of like the jewel of a diadem or some shit. It's real weird. We know that Alfarius is dead. And what leans toward that is people are like, "Oh, well, Alfarius was seen here and he was seen there." It's like, no. When Alfarius is killed by Dorn, Omegon actually says, "I am now truly alone." We know Alfarius is dead. Dorn is like 99.9% dead. They never give a definitive he is dead, but Chaos took him and threw back his severed hand and said, "Have your Imperial Fist."
There was always a weird thing where we know the demon Primarchs, when they die, they go back into the warp. Their souls are trapped in the warp, and then they just come back.
So things to know about the warp, right? So the warp is technically the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
When you die, your soul goes to the warp. The only instances where this wasn't the case was Horus. When Horus got smacked, he was erased mind, body, and soul. He was Swiffered. Right? So even Ferrus Manus, in some of the books, Ferrus Manus in the Spectre. So even his spirit is still floating around somewhere, right? Gilliman gets smacked by Fulgrim. He doesn't die, but he gets put in like stasis because he's dying. The Khan runs off into the web gates to go fight Dark Eldar later down this line. Leman Russ runs to go find the Tree of Life to find, a thing to bring the Emperor back from death. All the Primarchs kind of scatter different places. In 40K, Primarchs hadn't existed in years. Right? All the way back, like originally there were Primarchs in the Rogue Trader days, but from 2nd edition on, they've never had rules. Then they brought back Magnus, they brought back Gilliman, then they brought back Mortarion, then they brought back Angron, then they brought back Fulgrim.
It was the Lion, then Fulgrim?
Yeah, the Lion. They brought back the Lion, and then they brought back Fulgrim. Yeah. So they're slowly bringing them back. And part of the reason they're bringing them back is because in my mind, at least the way I feel about it, is GW realized people like playing with Primarchs, but they don't want to play Heresy. They want to play their Primarchs, but they can't unless they play Heresy. So why not bring them back, right? And so like G-Man, man, they went out of their way. Yeah. They went out of their way to bring him back.
And do they do
Yeah,
this
and
like canonically with a book?
Yeah. Yeah. So
yes.
Yeah.
with Gilliman, it was the Gathering of the Storm books. Essentially some Eldar, for lack of a better explanation, some like off-brand Eldar were SKD back his home, went in and revived him with the armor of fate. They enchanted his armor, made this armor of fate, and as long as he wore the armor, he was back alive. And he was resurrected while like the Black Legion was storming the, and so he woke up and was like, God damn, why are there always traitors everywhere? And started catch packaging Black Legion dudes. And they talk about his whole resurrection during the Plague War series, which was actually really sad. They brought them all back with books, with literary work, right? And then they curtail those into the game by releasing individual upgrades, kind of like when in Heresy we have the tactical journals. They had their own versions of those in 40K. They still do. Like the Nihilist campaigns and all that stuff, where they roll out some new units or some new rules and things like that. We're eventually going to see a point where the designers at GW are going to have to decide if they're going to jump the shark or not, for lack of a better
Yeah.
explanation. Because at some point, they're going to have to decide, hey, do we bring Sanguinius back?
Yep.
Do we bring Ferrus Manus back? Do we bring Horus back? They have, because they've
And they know what they're
guys.
doing too. Yeah, they know
Yeah.
what they're doing when they do that. When the Blood Angels were getting their release, that was the big thing at one point. I didn't read the books, but I think our boy Zach read, and he was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, they're teasing some big release for these Blood Angels, and it's I don't know if it was Sanguinius was talking to somebody or whatever, and they were like, people are talking that his spirit could like be put in a Sanguinor priest or something like that, and that would be a way that they could bring him back or something. These little talking us through the war, and it just follows the timeline with their big releases.
Yeah, so they know, they know what they're doing. I think one of the other things that they're going to have to find a way to make that reckoning is they're advancing the story. But when they first tried to advance the story when they did Plague War, they fucked up the timeline completely. So badly that if you have an early print of what was the name of that first Plague War? If you have an early copy of Dark Imperium and a early copy of the book that came right after it, they are written differently than the later productions because they had to go back and ratify their timeline because they realized they scrambled it. Like that's when
That's
you know
funny.
that you're rushing something. You had to retcon a story. Not even rules. There were no rules involved in that.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, if you look at the timeline, Kyle, like right now, how do you say his name? Titus? Titus? I don't know. Y'all could hate me all y'all want. He's big right now. He's in Space Marine. He's in the shows that they're putting out and stuff like that. And they decided, they're like, hey, new campaign, 500 Worlds campaign. It's hot. It's new. Let's release the model for him. Let's release a story for him. Yeah, this is like GW's trend. And with every Demon Primarch that they have released, they have a track record of releasing a Loyalist Primarch. to go into the books that like square off. G-Man fought Morty, and the Lion fought Angron. So now we're trying to see who's gonna fight Fulgrim. It takes them a while to write these things, though. It doesn't happen fast.
Yeah, and they've written some pretty interesting storylines that they're gonna have to retcon a lot of stuff, because in the end of Plague War, Gilliman kind of just rolled into the Great Unclean One's house, like he rolled into Nurgle's garden and just lit everything on fire. And the beauty of the way that Warhammer is written is nothing is off limits. Because, okay, say you want to find a way to reintroduce mastodons. Say tomorrow in the 40K universe, they're like, we want mastodons. They're like, okay. They found it's that simple for them to retcon it in because the warp is now, then, never, and always. It's every time, all at once.
When did that just happen? Just now, sir. Did
Like
we miss it?
again,
Yes.
spoiler alerts, right? Spoiler alerts. In the Siege of Terra books, there's actually a portion where they're like, "Oh my God, there's a red yarn. We brought a red yarn. We should follow our red yarn." And they go and they're like, "Holy crap, we led ourselves to our place." And this guy's like, "Okay, cool. Well, I have to go back and put this yarn so it's here for us to find back then." It's crazy. It's super confusing because the warp is always and never. It's very fluid time. So they're going to have to retcon quite a lot of it because Lehman Russ is supposed to be running around Nurgle's garden looking for the Tree of Life. Well, it just got burned to the fucking ground.
Yeah, I was like, didn't G-Man burn that shit down when he fought Morty?
Yeah, it just got burned to the ground. That's going to be an interesting part. They're also going to have to figure out how they're going to bring people back, because there's tons of suspicion of where the Primarchs are, but no one really knows. Like the Lion, all the canon we had up until a year ago was that the Lion was sleeping and no one wants to wake him up. Then it turns out, nope, he was out doing his Rambo shit, trudging through trees,
Oh
going
no,
out there.
he was asleep. Fucking what's his fuck woke him up. An Arcs of Omen Bastor woke his ass up. Out of all times, yeah. That little bitch woke him up. Thankfully so, because I love Lines. I love his new lore. I love his fucking Tywin Lannister looking ass. That model's sick.
Yeah, and then there's that. So they're going to have to find a way to do a lot of it. And they're down for it. GW, all they see is money. They see dollar signs, bro. For Heresy, they're even getting pretty wild with Heresy because now we're seeing all of the Primarchs being transfigured. So far we've got Horus ascended, we have Fulgrim transfigured, we have Angron transcended. We still have the potential to get all of the demon Primarchs in their kind of like, for lack of a better term, their upped version. We still have lots of things that come after the Scouring where new units are introduced and new ideas are introduced. We're kind of seeing some of that with the Inducti. Because if you notice, a lot of the Inducti are similar to some of their 40K brethren. For like Ultramarines, their Inducti are tactical squads. They can take a special weapon or a heavy weapon. That's a 40K tactical squad. That doesn't mean the games are blending per se, but the stories are a little bit. The interesting thing that we're going to have to do as a community that a lot of people don't want to admit, we're going to have to start getting a lot more comfortable with models outside of the model range. Point in case, one of my favorite units in the entire game of all the time I've played are Tyrannic War Veterans. They technically don't have a home in 40K anymore.
Or in Heresy, right?
Yeah, well, the iconography's wrong. We didn't have Tyranids in Heresy. So I think we've just reached that point where we just have to say cool models are cool models and let you roll. Because yeah, like you're right, the stories are starting to get kind of weird, and we're pushing the envelope on both sides. Heresy is escalating out in the story. 40K is pacing up in the story. And so I think the Return of the Primarchs brought the new age in 40K, and going past the Siege of Terra is bringing that about for Heresy. That's my super long explanation for your question.
Yeah, that's because it is GW is at a good spot right now. I know we don't like to give them their flowers on their game design or whatever, but they're pushing out stuff. We're about to get
They're
TV
in a
shows and
whole era.
movies.
Yeah, I was like, they're in a whole new media era. Video game, I
Yeah.
mean, you talked about Space Marine. They just got a new DLC, or not even a DLC, content update. You get to play Tech Marine now, which is badass that you didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, and that's
The
I think they got the new
Henry,
Carcharodon skins in there for
yeah,
that, which
the
also
Henry
pushed
Cavill series
into
is coming out.
And when we get into like the media portions of what GW's doing, right? We talk about the media and all the different like things that they're producing all at once. We can't be mad we're getting new stuff. We've talked about that. We can't be mad we're getting love. We can't be mad we're getting attention. One of the cooler things that's happening, and it's the drops coming out, I think the week this episode drops. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you guys do know we're getting the Horus Heresy books are being re-released, right?
Really? Like the one that I just started? I'm going to have to start over?
Not only that, but if you were one of the people who likes collecting hardbacks, they're re-releasing them in the limited edition hardbacks as well. And this is where I'm going to insert like a small thing. If you're one of those guys who buys a book to just resell it, I hope you get kicked in the shins by an angry donkey. Fuck you for being a scalper. Moving on from that.
Well, hold on. Are they changing the story, or is it just
No. It's just a reprint. Thank God it's a reprint. Not just is it a reprint, but it's a reprint of a book it's one of the only books that's in production. They're starting from the beginning and re-releasing them, but they're also re-releasing it in that hardback. So if you're one of those guys who's like, I've got every hardback but like the first 5 because they're impossible to find, well, they're not going to be impossible anymore. Again, unless you're one of those people who's Donkey Kick approved. Right?
Fair.
The other thing that we're getting is the reveal came out during the episode that we're recording here. We're getting the new plastic falchion. And we are getting the book, which is it has a weird name. I'm not gonna lie, the name is weird, and y'all can comment all you want, but it's called the Mailed Fist.
Like, you've got mail. The work.
Yes. I just imagine like the AOL, you've got mail, followed by like heresy, and like your shit just detonates.
Candygram from Mongo.
Candygram from Mongo. So one of the other things in this book that they kind of lean into is there's a specific sentence in there that has me concerned about this book. It has me calling into question the validity and the practicality of it. But they say, yeah, this is going to have rules for you to field entire companies of these super heavy tanks. As though we're not already struggling to find a way to fit them into 3,000 points.
Well, duh, Gabe, all you have to do is start playing 10,000 point games because, games should take 12 hours instead of the normal 6.
As a person who would love to play those games, don't play with my emotions, Smokey. Now, there were a couple of things that popped up on this reveal that kind of concerned me. It looks like for the first time ever, there's either a new side sponson weapon or GW has finally released a differentiating model between the Gravis laser batteries and the laser destroyer batteries.
Yeah, but is that like? I mean, it's still positive in both flights, right? New upgrade
I'm
kit
not
or
mad.
new rules, right? Yeah, so it's like
Not mad. It's just a matter of like if it is a new thing, if it's a new model for an existing rule, the old salty gamer in me is like, now I gotta go break all my fucking Spartans to put these lasers on them, man. Right? Part of me is like angry, get off my lawn, old man. Right? That's just me. I know that not everyone has older resin stuff or even like older kits, but the laser destroyer variant is also possible in the Spartan. So I'm wondering if we're going to see a kit similar to what they did with the javelins and with the land speeders, where they said, "Hey, you can take Volkite sponsons now, so you can go buy this upgrade kit that's just the Volkite sponsons." Or if it's one of those like, "Oh, you want a Spartan with a new improved side sponsons? Well, I guess you got to go buy another Spartan." Both of those are possibilities,
Fuck
right?
that. I got a Kratos I didn't use a Volkite sponsons on.
Well, I'm talking about this is a laser destroyer sponsor.
Well, yeah.
It's actually one of the pictures, and the thing is, I could be wrong, and it could be like, hey, this is a new version of it, because they talk about like, yeah, you can use these weapons to shoot other tanks. Now, given that one of those weapons is a heavy bolter, and I'm like, clearly someone hasn't read the vehicle damage table. It is a Falchion, and it's one of those tanks that I've wanted to have for a while, and the only reason I didn't buy one is because I felt it in my wallet when I bought my Fellblade. And then I felt it in my back pain having to carry it. Because it's a solid chunk of resin. Well, now it's plastic. And the Fellblade's plastic now too, but the Falchion was still a resin kit, which I'm super excited. It came out in plastic. The other thing that we're getting, which is going to lead into one of our happy little announcements, we're also getting a new Word Bearers novel that's specific to Zardu Lyak, who also is known as the Crimson Apostle. We're getting a new heresy novel specifically about him. Now, cool thing about that is next week we're getting into our our Legion reviews. Not a breakdown. I'm not going to call it a breakdown. I think breakdown is a bad word for what we're doing. Starting next week, now that we're comfortable with the rules, I think all of us have enough reps that we can actually feel like we know the difference between our ass and a hand grenade when it comes to 3.0. So Zardu Lyak is going to get his book, and we are also getting into the Word Bearers for our first Legion review. So that's exciting. That's going to be a good time. So a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipe. And whether it is the new era of, Heresy / 40K / GW, or if it's even just, hey, you're getting cool new models. I'm okay with cool new models. As long as they don't introduce like another middle tank where they're like, this is like a Kratos, but it has 5 whirlwind turrets. That'll piss me off a bit. I'm not going to lie. The whole I have a stable tank that isn't a super heavy, but acts like a super heavy. That thing doesn't need barrage.
I need more of that in my life, Gabe.
Yeah, no shit.
I need.
Christian's like a kid in a candy store, be like, "Oh my god, is that a Kratos that they came out with? It's got rules for a graviton polarizer. What's up?" Like, the homeboy is just giddy about it. But with that being said, shorter episode this week, guys. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you're with us next week when we start breaking down the Legions a little bit, or reviewing the Legions. Not going to get into breakdown, but hope you're with us next week. And sorry we're a little behind on the episodes. YouTube decided to fight with us when we were trying to release this one. For some reason, it told Kyle he wasn't allowed to do stuff. And then we had to remind YouTube that he's an adult and he can do whatever he wants. So, yeah. Again, thanks for being...
I didn't send him a picture of my ID or anything.
Fuck
you, Discord.
But as always, guys, happy dice, happy life. Fuck Erebus, except for next episode. And we'll see you on the next one.
Adios.